card to document a question. Simply hold up your hand. These ladies will get one to you, and then we'll get it up to the panel for consideration. Welcome. In the spirit of keeping things moving, we'll go ahead and get started. And for the facilitation of this, we'll just kind of round robin the questions. So, for example, this first time we're going to go with you, Ms. Rawls. And then when the first question starts, we'll start with you, Ms. Sanders. And then the next round we'll start with, and that's how we'll do that process. So, in doing my duties properly, this segment, we'll start with a 1-minute introduction. Ms. Rawls.
Good evening. Thank you for having this forum. My name is Monique Rawls. I'm a resident of Rapids Parish. I've lived here all my life. First and foremost, I'll tell you who I am. I am my faith. My faith is at the forefront of my life. Second, I am a wife to James Ross III. He's a captain with Rapids Parish Sheriff's Department. Then third, I am a mother. I have 3 sons. I practiced law initially at Pavosi, Sal and Deloney Law Firm after finishing law school at Mississippi College. Then from there, I decided I wanted to transition to the state. I worked for the Department of Social Services, and then I went on to the state in the litigation department with the Department of Justice. And from there, I worked 10.5 years as your hearing officer with the 9th Judicial District Court judges. There, I heard cases in family law matters. I loved that job to the extent that it moved me to the other side of the bench. I practiced law before the judges for many years, and then I sat on the bench.
Ms. Sanders.
Good afternoon. I'd also like to thank the Central Louisiana Business League for extending the invitation for us to participate in this forum. My name is Tiffany Sanders, and I'm a candidate for Division 8 District Court Judge. I know I have a minute, so I'm going to try to wrap this up in a minute. I'm a military brat. My father was in the Air Force. I grew up on Eagle Air Force Base. My father passed away in 1989. I'm a graduate of ASH. I moved to Baton Rouge, and I graduated from Louisiana State University. I received my Juris Doctorate at Southern University Law Center. I also moved to Shreveport and clerked for the first JDC court and criminal court under Judge John Mosley. Moved back home and worked in civil practice. We primarily did insurance defense. I worked with the Aussie Law Firm and also with Fair Cloud v. Elliott. I have governmental experience. I was assistant city attorney under the Ned Randolph administration. And I worked at the Office of Chief Counsel in Washington, D.C. and Atlanta, Georgia. My desire was to be an advocate for the people, which led me to hang out my shingle, which I've practiced law since then, downtown Alexandria.
Mr. Spears.
My name is Clifton J. Spears, Jr. I'm 55 years of age. For 21 years, I practiced law here in Rapids Parish. For 18 of those years, I ran the juvenile division of the Indigent Defender Board. I'm a graduate of PBAC, Dillard University, went to medical school, left in my senior year because I didn't like it, graduated from law school. I bring experience, maturity, temperament, and accessibility to this party.
Okay. Ms. Matois.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Central Louisiana Business League for sponsoring this forum. I'm Monique Matoyer. I'm 50 years old. I'm proud of that. I am the oldest of 4 children. My father is the late Numa B. Matoyer, who was a utility service supervisor here at the city of Alexandria, and my mother is Jess Matoyer. I attended Southern University Law Center and graduated in 1988. Prior to that, I attended St. Mary's Dominican College and graduated there in 3 years in 1985. I attended local Catholic schools here, Holy Savior Menard and St. Francis Cabrini School, and I am Catholic. I've been with the DA's office here for 22 years. I've been a practicing attorney for over 26 years, and I believe that I'm the person for this job. I think I have the most experience. I've worked at a wealthy number of courts. I've argued successfully before the Louisiana Supreme Court 3 times, and I believe that through the years I've learned how to be a good judge based upon the trials that I've had throughout this parish and throughout the state of Louisiana.
Dr. Howard, first question is from you. We'll start with Ms. Sanders.
Thanks very much. Why are you interested in becoming judge?
I've been asked that many times, and the answer is quite simple. I have represented people in this parish and throughout the state for many years, and I have been a voice for people who couldn't speak up for themselves and needed the representation. I believe in our community, I believe in our people, and what better way to continue to serve the community than to serve on the bench. I have had the opportunity to represent family, friends, even colleagues, and so I truly believe that one step further in being a judge, it indicates that you have not only serving your community as an attorney, but you have been able to move forward and serve as a judge. And I truly believe that I am the candidate to do that.
Mr. Spears.
While Lady Justice is blind, I am not. 68% of the inmate population is Afro-Americans. They have some things in common. They're black, they come from single-parent households, and they lack a high school education. I can't do anything about you being black. I can do something about the other two. And that's why I believe I'm the best candidate. These people are males. They lack role models. They don't see those things in our community. They're not being taught to be men. And that's something that I think I could bring to the community.
Ms. Matoir.
I'm sorry. I believe that I'm the best candidate to be your judge, because I believe to whom much is given, much is required. I made this lofty proposition 12 years ago and was not successful. And I believe at that point in time, the dear Lord knew what was right, and I just might not have been ready at that time. But over these last 12 years, the Lord has humbled me, and I think you have to be humble for this position. I've gained even more trial experience. I know how to practice law. I know the rules of court. I know how the evidence code works. I have picked thousands of cases. I have had thousands of jurors before me. I've dealt with victims as young as 4 years old who have entrusted me with some of the most depths of the darkest despair of what has happened to them. I've also dealt with people who just had something as a traffic ticket and they lost their job and they needed some help along the way. I think with age comes wisdom. I think that this is the anointed and appointed time for me, and I believe I'm your best choice.
Ms. Rawls.
Ever since I've gone to law school, it has been a desire of my heart. Also, when I began to practice law, I went before many courts and many judges, and I found out that although we look at a judge and we think judge and we think it's synonymous with justice, it wasn't always that way for me. I found that many times as I argued my case, the decision was not based upon how well I presented my case. The decision in the case was based upon who knew whom, oftentimes. For instance, I presented a case that before a judge, and that case essentially had been presented to that judge before, and with other parties, of course. And I relied upon the case that had come before that judge before and told him, my case is on all fours with the case that you decided before. But yet, he ruled exactly the opposite of how he had ruled before. But thanks to the Court of Appeals, they reversed him. And I served as a hearing officer, and I did this job, and I'm the right person for the job.
Ms. Hope, you have the next question, and Mr. Spears, we'll start with you.
As I listen to all four of you, all of you have great experience, wonderful education, have been here most of your life, and of course all of you think you are the best persons for the job. What sets you apart from your opponents? I mean, I'm hearing all of you, good education, community service, have experience. I mean, what makes you feel you're more eminently qualified than your opponent? What sets you apart?
That's a very good question.
Give me a good answer.
I'm going to give you a very good answer. The answer to that question is simple. I understand that the problem is a flaw in the system. And the one thing that I've done that none of the other folks on this stage have done, I built a system from the ground up, the juvenile system. I was the face of the juvenile system here for 18 years. When I arrived there was chaos. Our youth was going to jail without representation, and that was flying in the face of what the code said. I got together with some other smart people. That's where my temperament comes in. It allows me to work with other people. And I put things in place. We now have what they call the DAIT, Detention Assessment Instrument, which you can't put people in detention for any reason at all. I formed JDAC, the Juvenile Defenders Accessibility Board. So those are the things that I've done.
Ms. Matoir.
I think what sets me apart is being able to deal with all people from all walks of life, no matter what their gender is, their ethnicity, religion, or what have you. I say that because Just here, I've had over 8,000 cases, and out of those cases, approximately 4,000 were dismissed by me, which shows that I have the ability to be impartial and fair at the outset. Justice has to be blind to some degree. People who come into a courtroom want to know that they're going to have their day in court. I know the courtrooms belong to the citizens, and every citizen, no matter what their stance in life, will get that. Number two, I also believe that having picked jurors and dealt with victims through all of these years, it's given me an insight into the depths of how these people need to be treated when they come into the courtroom. When you have a 4-year-old victim that's sitting on the stand who is trembling, you have to have some compassion. But you cannot let that interfere in returning what needs to be a just verdict, which is what the law requires, and I'm going to do that.
Ms. Ross?
Well, not only have I served arguing cases before the judges, I rotated to the other side. I sat on the bench for 10 and a half years at the Rapid Parish Courthouse, serving as the hearing officer. I heard many cases. I know what the people want. I listened to the people. I took in the evidence. I did the job of what a judge does. That's what makes me qualified, and that's what makes me different from all the other applicants. I had many times people come to me and tell me, thank you for what you did. You were very independent. It didn't matter to me the race of the people that came before me. It didn't matter to me the gender of the people that came before me. It didn't matter to me the financial status of the individuals that came before me. What mattered to me is that I wore the black robe, and I wore it with respect and dignity and honor, and that people were given a day in court and they were treated fairly.
Ms. Sanders?
What separates me from the other candidates is simple. It's actual practice. We must require and demand that the judges that we elect to represent us on the bench are not experimenting on the bench in terms of the fact that they don't have the actual practice. If you elect a judge who primarily has only done criminal law or only been in child support court, that is doing a disjustice to our system, because our judges rotate. They rotate from the criminal bench to the civil bench to the juvenile court bench. We